All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen from around the world, wherever you're watching from. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this ongoing chapter saga of the 2021 IndyCar iRacing series here on VirtualRacing.Network. And my name is Trevor Greenfield. I've been with you all season, and we've been bringing you coverage of this series, which is still only a couple of years old, but it is an official iRacing series, and it is bringing some excellent talent together from all around the globe, driving these Dallara IR18 IndyCars for our pleasure, for our entertainment and pleasure here. So, I noticed we have quite a few viewers over in the YouTube chat room. I am so happy to see that so many people are getting a chance to watch this live, because the action has been thrilling all season. So, as always, if at any point during the broadcast, if you catch that there's any sort of technical glitches, I do appreciate you alerting me to it in the chat room. And otherwise, we just steam on right ahead with qualifying. As we can see, Vilda Wallen here on track, completing her second lap here. The first lap good enough for third on the grid so far. So we take a look at what the qualifying order is at the moment, and we've got Andreas Eick, one of the stars of the IndyCar on the iRacing service, as well as in this series. No surprise so far on the provisional pole. Vilda not able to improve position-wise on that second run there. We do have Rob Unglenix just completing his run as well, putting him in fourth place with a 39.519. Nobody able thus far to top the times of, and we have Andrew Marquez just making his way out onto the track and spinning. Unfortunately, he will unfortunately gain a off track for that, but should be able to actually recover this. He'll probably abort this attempt and then give it another shot here, but definitely still possible to set a good time. And just as we say that, Henry Bennett on track has just completed his qualifying run, topping Andreas Eick's time of 39.401 with a 39.374. So the first driver to dip into that 0.3 second bracket there, 0.3 of a second. So the top of the order pretty close with Bennett, Eick, and Crane. Let's go back to Andrew Marquez if we can to see the end of his qualifying run. And of course, where are we? Well, we're at the world famous Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It is my absolute pleasure. I've watched this race so many times, just like all of you have, and I've gotten to now race in a couple of different, as Andrew Marquez ends up 12th place there. Probably he won't be happy with that. So we can see Eric Hunter just finishing. So for me, this is a dream come true to be able to actually call a race from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What a beautiful facility. Would love to visit there in real life. And of course, the real life IndyCar series there right now, actually practicing on the track, getting ready for Sunday's big race. Of course, I'm sure you will be tuning into that. These drivers, however, have actually already been out there on the track previously this week, and it was Chris Stouffer, someone we haven't been seeing too much of in this series, who managed to take the victory over season championship leading contender Henry Bennett, and Severi Seppa making his mark up at the top of the order, coming in third place. And so what that has effectively done is to give the championship a whole different feel. As we take a look here, I'll bring up our current points. And so that race put Adam Crane back at the top of the order, but you can see not very far behind Henry Bennett and Hugo Olsson in third. And the biggest climber there is, of course, Severi Seppa. Cesar Manzato there in fifth has put on a show last time at the road course in Indianapolis, putting on quite a show coming through the field. But the story thus far this season, of course, has been Hugo Olsson with some amazing drives coming forward, Adam Crane with his incredible consistency, winning races multiple times over, and Henry Bennett, of course, just being there, a contender each and every week at the front. So as we ditch those points and get ready for some green flag action, it is Henry Bennett who will lead us to the green flag here today, racing for Powerslide Motorsports. And as you can see, he was the 2019 IndyCar iRacing Series overall champion, with last year's Series championship coming to the driver who sits directly behind him, Adam Crane, who will be starting today in the third place. But it is Andreas Eick who sits in between them and potentially could be the spoiler for both of these favorite drivers and their championship hopes. Andreas not sitting too far back to be able to challenge for the overall championship, but would like to undoubtedly come away with this win here at the Indianapolis Oval, as this is a truly special track for all of the drivers who get to compete. Now, as I was saying earlier, some of these drivers have also been racing in the official iRacing series, Indy 500, that just concluded. Numerous drivers gaining wins and being able to compete, and then also the Indy Road Open Series is going on, as well as the Indy Oval Fixed Series. They're all at the Indianapolis Oval, and so these drivers all gaining lots and lots of experience. So we get set here to take the green flag momentarily. So once again, it will be Bennett leading Eick, and then you'll have Adam Crane and Jesper Orman coming in, qualifying fourth. Not a surprise to those of us familiar with the IndyCar circles, but new to our broadcast here. So that's fantastic to see him as Henry Bennett gets ready to step on the gas. It's a late start for Bennett. He does take clear charge of the front. Andreas Eick slightly behind, falling under attack. There on the outside, you have Jesper Orman taking the position away from Adam Crane, who slips back to fourth place. And there's lots more action further back, as it looks like Andreas Eick wants his chance to go straight to the front and manages to hold the move. He'll be the leader for the very first lap here at Indianapolis as we do 150 laps here. I can't believe it, but here's Henry Bennett back to the inside, and he takes the position again into turn one. These two racing like it's the last lap. Normally, I'd be saying if this were spreading out, we might be having some more swap drafting, but these two being from different teams, I don't think that's what's happening. I think they both want to lead the front and control the air. Meanwhile, all three of these cars running in a row. Anything could go wrong, and we don't want to see that, but these are such skilled drivers. They are so experienced. As I just mentioned, I think we're really privileged here with the IndyCar iRacing series because these drivers have had weeks to really work out the bugs of their racing setups. As we see Jesper Orman, it looks like just about to receive a drafting move potentially by Bennett. We'll see. And now it appears as though Orman himself has caught Andreas Eick. So these drivers managing this draft extremely well here on lap 4 thus far. I don't have any notes of anybody out or crashing thus far. So that's great news. I do not see anybody is off track, and we have 27 drivers here. By the way, the strength of field just around 3,850. Therefore, this race most likely the highest strength of field race of the entire week, and therefore this being the most important 4 points. If you do want to potentially have a chance at winning or possibly second, easiest way to do that would be, of course, to be in the highest strength of field race. So this, for all of these drivers involved, will likely end up with the top way to earn points for the entire week, is what I'm trying to say. So we continue here, lap 5, and these drivers not resting for a second. So as we take a look here with Jesper Orman's on board towards leader Andreas Eick, who has now officially planted his flag at the front of this field. We wonder what their pit strategy might entail, and that we will have to wait and see who is saving fuel. Most of the drivers in the draft are by default saving fuel, but who's saving more fuel? We won't go to any onboard footage today because that would give away some of that information. And as we see this pass for the lead of Jesper Orman, who takes the lead for his team, Three Crowns Racing. Apologize if I don't have that team name on there correctly. But Jesper Orman taking the point, and Andreas Eick now battling back. And there you see creeping into the picture also a very familiar name, Vilda Wallin. We were watching her a little bit beforehand. She has definitely come out of nowhere in this series to challenge everybody to see who's going to be top 5 in this series. I have a note that Shane Burke has pulled in and entered the pits, potentially has an issue there, has not yet left the pits. So sitting there on pit road, Orman makes his move back around Eick for first. Again, always a chance. It's just some swap drafting, some courteous, friendly swap drafting, but you never know. Sometimes friends are friends over team boundary lines, and sometimes you just want to control the front. But this is incredible racing action here at the front of this race. This is round 5 from the Indy Oval, world-famous Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we have some of the best international sim racers in the world duking it out for first place. Jesper Orman, Andreas Ike, Henry Bennett, Adam Crane, and Vilda Wallen are your top 5. Just behind, we can see Robin Glennox holding tight in 6th position. Hasn't gained, hasn't lost. He's your top American in the field at the moment. Just behind him, Diego Pereño. And just behind him, a new face also to our broadcast, AJ Musselman. Good to see you in the broadcast. Also, last race's superstar, Chris Willite. As you can see, recent winner of the iRacing Indy 500, part of this series also, and trying to find himself in the top 5 of this championship. Currently sits in 9th place, having gained 2 spots on the day, so he's a name to watch out for. It's anybody's guess as to how this fuel strategy is going to work out, but he is quickly showing that he is one of the masters at fuel strategy. Here's Alan Moreira, excuse me for pronouncing that completely incorrectly, Alan. You can tell me how to pronounce it later in Discord or otherwise on YouTube chat. Just correct me. I'm actually going to send around a pronunciation guide, and we can share that with the whole IndyCar community. I think that would be really helpful. But Alan here, first time I've actually called his name in any of our races again on broadcast. It's great to see some new names. Alan from, or I believe it's Alon actually, from Brazil. So good to see you here in top 10, only losing 1 position since the start. And again, who knows where that ends up with strategy and fuel saving, etc. Some of these drivers are going to be much more aggressive. As we take a look at Eric Hunter battling with Andrew Marquez. Hunter, a Canadian, battling with Marquez from the United States. This is for 11th and 12th. Marquez, this blue and white car in your picture here, he's recently been competing quite well in both the Indy Road Open Series, and he's also been in this series, and becoming quickly a name at the top of the charts that you will be seeing for sure. So keep an eye on Andrew, as this is not his first Indy 500 that he's run this week. Ty McWhorter, actually earlier in one of our earlier oval races, I believe it was Texas, Ty ended up winning the early week high strength of field race. He is somebody, again, not to count out, as we have made it back to 14th place. Jorge Varela here in 14th has gained 8 positions. Congratulations to him on the tear through the field. And in 15th, the first time I've gotten a chance to call his name officially, Matt Holleba. It's so great to see you here in the broadcast, Matt. Friggin' that All-American Racers Eagle nose and the Majors Garage sponsorship there. Actually, I think he says he uses the setups from Majors Garage, but they're not officially a sponsor. He's just so happy to put them on the side pod. So for those of you that need a setup, you might consider that. Certainly got Matt Holliba's stamp of approval. So now we're seeing Hugo Olsson back here in 16th. That's not where I'm used to seeing Hugo Olsson. He's gained 5 positions. We didn't go through the full qualifying order of the race, but Hugo actually qualified, it says he's gained 5 spots, sitting in 16th, so he qualified 21st. Pretty surprising for Hugo, who is used to qualifying right at the front, so perhaps he had a problem with his qualifying effort. Oh, okay. That's fantastic. I had to switch around there. Apologize for the moment of silence. We're going to go back up front here. I had a little bit of a technical moment there. This is live, ladies and gentlemen, of course. As we take a look at the front of the field, it's Jesper Orman who finds himself at the front of this field. And it's Andreas Eich in second, Henry Bennett in third, and Adam Crane in fourth. And as I saw in our YouTube chat room, it is Jesper is racing for Three Crowns Racing. Thank you, Thomas, for pointing that out. Just pointing out that Three Crowns Racing appearing at the top of the order so much now as Andreas Eich again gets back around Jesper. So it's interesting to see these team names as they surge and they go up and down the order, and sometimes they stick around for a long time, but you start to notice some different names coming forward. And Three Crowns Racing, not new to the IndyCar scene, but competing at a very, very high level, and it seems like every week they get higher and higher with their competition. So Jesper here sitting in second as we had Hugo Olsson pit. Or did he pit? No, actually that's an errant pit note. Apologize for that. It's Rob Unglenix who has entered pit lane, pitting out of sixth position. So we'll have to see. Oh, and Rob does have a problem. Not sure what happened there. I thought it was a little early for a pit stop. And it does not look like Rob is going to get back out there instantly. Did come down off of the jacks, but our independent in the field here, one of our independents here in the field struggling a little bit this week, perhaps tapping that wall. You know, these cars are so easy. I know I say it every week, but it is just every week it's apparent, especially when I race it. Obviously not at the talent level of these guys, but when I race it, if you just barely skim it so that it's not even a 0x contact in the iRacing sim, just barely skim your right front or your right rear, it can completely ruin your race. I've had it just not even a 0x contact and the steering is bent to the point where it's undrivable. So certainly understandable to see Rob pull off with damage there, possibly had a drafting issue. There's so much aero wake in these cars that when you get behind, as we see Andreas Eich leading the field here with Jesper Orman just behind, Jesper has to modify his line dramatically in order to be able to stay in the draft of the car in front, let alone make a pass like we see him do here. So Jesper down the inside again of Andreas Eich, with Henry Bennett sitting in third and Adam Crane fourth. Vilda Wallen fifth, Chris Willite sixth. Chris up 5 positions today. As I was just mentioning, this is someone to definitely watch out for, making his march through the field. And Diego Pereno up to 7th with 1 position gained on the day. AJ Musselman there in 8th place, having lost a position but hanging on to that draft. So crucial to not drift too far back of the draft, otherwise your lap time will be definitely compromised. So then completing the 9th place here, Alon. I won't try to pronounce your name again, I apologize. But Alon here sitting in 9th. And in 10th, Andrew Marquez. So Andrew up 4 positions. Once again, all of these drivers You know, the whole top of the field, the top 10 are covering 6.8 seconds. So to be this far into a green flag stint, 25 laps in, and the top 10 only making up 6 seconds, that is just absolutely unheard of. What a competitive field. In fact, if I can go back to a wider picture here, maybe even the blimp cam, you can see there's the top 4, and we go back to, as we see a pass down the front straight here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You are watching the 2021 IndyCar iRacing Series. This is round 5, race 2 of the week from the Indianapolis Oval here on VirtualRacing.Network. Thank you so much for joining us. I, again, am Trevor Greenfield. I'm your host and play caller and camera switcher for this entire event. So, I do see that Rob Unglenix has left pit lane. Now, he is sitting in the top of the championship standings at the moment. So, Rob, this is a difficult thing for him because he will lose a lot of points this week. Now, one of the things to note is that Hugo Olsson, you can go back, you can actually take a look. Yeah, Hugo Olsson, who's sitting in 3rd right now in the championship, he really would have wanted to have a solid finish here, but he's actually done one less race than the others. So with the ability to drop, that might go away, but still you want to have as good of a race as you possibly can in order to score the most amount of points. And definitely, I'm sure Hugo, he's sitting in 8th right now, having just overcome what was a poor qualifying start for him. And here you see him making another pass on Jorge Varela here for 12th place. So Hugo up 9 positions, and Jorge hanging tough on the outside, going to make it difficult for Hugo. This is what I was talking about, is possibly Hugo a little bit more streamlined for clean air, anticipating qualifying closer to the front or something like that, and maybe struggling to make too many passes coming forward. But I say that, and he's already up 8 places, so what do I know? He's doing exactly what he needs to do at this point, and he may be struggling as he gets further up into the top of the order, but we'll see. Anything can happen here. So we see Tim Tomez has entered pit lane, and just taking a look at some of the notes here, appears as though Andreas Eich is now in the pits. There he is. So Andreas Eich pulls off of the lead, and that's undoubtedly because he's been leading, or almost leading, 30 laps. Lots of clean air running for Andreas, and so he probably burning the most fuel of anybody. But here we can take a look at the battle at the front. It's Jesper Orman, which, as I had mentioned, Jesper is just one of those drivers that you are used to seeing at the top of the order as he peels off into the pits. Very skilled driver. Pleasure to have him here, part of this series, and giving these drivers, Henry Bennett and Adam Crane, an absolute run for their money, as well as Hugo Olsson. This is the level of talent that we were hoping to see here in the series, and it continues to get better and better each week. I didn't see how many people exactly were registered for this race, but the participation has been excellent this season. So Henry Bennett now in the lead, with Adam Crane just under a half a second behind. Ah, yes, a very familiar sight. The green and red of Henry Bennett with the red, white, and blue, or whatever exact color you would call that. But the Canadian there, Adam Crane, as you can see, last year's IndyCar iRacing Series overall champion, and this year's current leader of the points for the series. So he is Adam Crane's not going anywhere. He's in second place, and just because he's been sitting back a little bit, as I've been saying, you don't necessarily have to run at the front to win this race. And we've been seeing that all week. Just seeing lots of drivers pulling in, including Henry Bennett, as you can see there in your picture, just ahead of Vilda Wallen. Adam Crane remains on track, and we wait for him to come in as we head into just about to start lap 34 here, about another half a lap. So Henry Bennett now leaving the pits as Adam Crane enters successfully. A little brake lock there on entry. Hugo Olsson now enters the pits from the lead. Sorry, technically from second place, because Adam Crane here in the picture is still shown in the lead of the race, but it will be Andreas Eick assuming the lead here momentarily. So we follow this action with Jesper Orman just behind. Still not seeing any notes of any crashes of any sort, and that's just a shocker to me as a driver who's been in lots of these lots of the Indy Open practices and races. There's generally one or two cars flying around at any moment, but that just speaks to how skilled these drivers are and what a pleasure it is to see this level of talent on display for all of our pleasure, as I mentioned earlier. Andreas Eick and Jesper Orman either working together and swap drafting, or just being infuriated with each other and trying to pass each other constantly. I think they're trying to help each other out personally. And I think Henry Bennett senses there's no point in trying to even challenge as long as they're going to keep doing that. So he'll just hold back a little bit in third until opportunity arises. But this group, Jesper Orman up 3 positions today from his starting spot, now at the point of this Indy Oval race, and this is going to be one of the final Indy Oval races these drivers are going to be running for a while, until the Open Wheels 500 much later in November. So finally these drivers will be able to tuck away their race setups and move on to something else. I'm sure everybody is anxious to show they're the best at Indy and that they have secured the best race setup, and they have the ability to navigate their way to that top step and drink the milk. But after all of this racing, I think everybody's so happy to watch the race on Sunday and move on to the next race for sure. But not before this race is crowned, and of course this one means so much to this championship. And while we see Andreas Eick in the front, we do have to think that Adam Crane and Henry Bennett in third place here, as these two continue to swap draft back and forth. Henry Bennett sitting just behind in third, and Adam Crane, these two are the top of the championship standings at the moment, and so they're playing a championship game, and they realize how many points are at stake here in this race. Meanwhile, you don't have to look much further back than 5th place to find Chris Willite, up 6 places today. He's got to overcome a 5.5 second gap to get back to Adam Crane, and I don't know that that's going to happen if he's working by himself. Nevertheless, this recent iRacing Indy 500 winner is just showing once again that he belongs in that conversation of the elite IndyCar drivers on the iRacing service. So we take a look just behind him, and it is Hugo Olsson, up 15 positions at the moment. And it looks like Robin Glennox entering pit lane again. Not sure if that's on schedule for him now. Perhaps having an issue. So if we can, I'm just going to take this moment. We could walk through the rest of the field as we see Vilda Wallen making a move down the inside of Hugo Olsson into turn 1 and pulling it off successfully. Three Crowns Racing again celebrating over in the chat room, I'm sure. Just realized Three Crowns Racing really getting a lot of coverage, a lot of mentioning here. This is going to end up being highlight reel for them to some degree for sure. But again, just speaks volumes about how they, and also with Adam Crane and Adam State driving for Satellite Racing, making a statement really that these teams, and now we do have a yellow flag. I'm looking to see, it's Matt Hollaba, and we can just see he's crashed there. It came out and I couldn't see it in the notes, so let's just back it up on the screen and see what we can see. So, and there, oh, it appears whoever he was racing with it appears to be Alan Moreira, who came into contact with him, possibly, let's see. So, unfortunately for Matt, who was hanging on there and potentially working on some strategy, just coming together. It's like exiting turn 2 and out along there on the inside. Unfortunately, getting it a little wide, not able to take it in, and both drivers coming together. So that does bring out our very first caution of the day. And if we can pull up our pit strategy, we can see pretty much every driver is considering coming in, except for Henry Bennett. And in fact, it is Ike and Crane who are the only two who take to pit road. This will be very interesting. This will split our strategy greatly, as Ike and Crane will now be on fresher tires and more fuel, but they will be starting a little bit further back, so we'll have to see where they will slot back in. This field is almost all on the lead lap, so they have potentially, they're going to fall quite a ways back. And this will allow Jesper Orman to take over at the point with Henry Bennett in second, Chris Willite in third, Vilda Wallen in fourth, Hugo Olsson running in fifth place, AJ Musselman there in sixth, Andrew Marquez in seventh, Jorge Varela in eighth, David Graybill ninth, Ty McWhorter in 10th, 11th, Kazuhiro Shiba, 12th, Tim Thomas, and Andreas Ike slots out now in 13th place. So this, as well, you can see Adam Crane not going to fall adrift of Andreas Ike or be split. So this is a very interesting strategy call. Again, Adam Crane now putting himself directly on a different fuel strategy than Henry Bennett, who is, and also Hugo Olsson, who are his two main title contenders. So this could work in his favor. And this is what we've been seeing, is that it's been strategy at the Indy 500. It's been strategy in the Indy Road Open, even in the Fixed Open. this race, with the amount of drafting and let's just face it, draft lock, the inability to really pull away with this car has really favored the drivers who play fuel strategy. It just depends on when the cautions come out, but if it stays green for a long time, whoever was the last one to get a pit stop done under caution a lot of times ends up being the one who wins the race. But either way, they're on opposite strategy now, as Andreas Eich and Adam Crane find themselves back in 13th and 14th. Diego Pereno is back in 15th behind them. He's lost 7 positions. I think all of these drivers now being shown as losing positions because they pitted, but we'll see how this works out as far as overall when the other drivers have to pit. So Eric Hunter shown here in 16th. Sergei Heras in 17th. Jaden Hopp in 18th. It's always great to see these new drivers popping up. I haven't gotten the lovely opportunity to phonetically pronounce your name. As always, as I said, please feel free to send me a message. Let me know how I should properly pronounce your name. Richard Crozier running now in 19th, and Laura Gearhart in 20th. Justin Petschauer, we saw him running at the front in a previous race, but today running in 21st. Again, it's anybody's guess how this works out for these drivers in terms of overall strategy, as we get momentarily ready to go back to the green flag. And it is, as I mentioned before, Jesper Orman
Green flag,
for
green
Three
flag.
Crowns Racing, who leads this field back to the green flag. Getting a note that says Laura Gearhart has gotten around Richard Crozier for 19th, and Justin Petschauer has also passed Richard Crozier. Jorge Varela has passed Andrew Marquez for 7th in addition. So here the battle between Jorge and Andrew. Andrew undoubtedly sensing his opportunity to regain that gap that we had talked about before. He's still got a little bit of a gap to AJ Musselman up the road there. And he still has to watch his mirrors as Jorge goes to the outside. Unbelievable pass there by Jorge, leaving Andrew no place to go other than to back out a little bit. Andrew not quite as strong on the inside, it appears. So Jorge back up into the 7th position. And it, for the Matt Hollaba fans watching, he has left the pits again. Unfortunately, he still finds himself down in 24th place. Matt's going to have to make up some serious ground in order to see some more places, but he gives it a shot. And back up at the front, Jesper Orman still fighting with Henry Bennett, and/or swap drafting in a friendly display of gentleman racing. No, you know, these drivers, again, it just, the level of respect when you race so many times with these drivers, these other drivers, I mean, it can get quite competitive, and you can race wheel to wheel for wins in the championship, obviously, but when you get used to racing the same talent over and over and over, and you get used to how respectful they are of you and you are of them. And so if it works out that you're fast with somebody else and they want to do it, well, you just kind of hook up sometimes and you decide to do some swap drafting or whatever you can to try to distance yourself from the field. Meanwhile, would you believe it, as these two swap draft behind, taking advantage of that yellow flag and gaining some positions. Folks, it's 8 positions up on the day for Chris Willite, one of the best oval racers in IndyCar at the moment. And he's looking to add to his recent accomplishment of the 2021 iRacing Indy 500. He's looking to add winner of round 5, the Indianapolis Oval here in the IndyCar iRacing series for 2021. He wants a clean sweep. So Vilda Wallen also up into 4th. That we have to keep in mind the split strategy going on right now. As you see Hugo Olsson pressuring Vilda Wallen. We do have to keep in mind, floating around back in 13th position are these 2 drivers who are the first ones to have made a stop recently, and that is Andreas Eick and Adam Crane, as they work underneath Rob Unglenix, who himself is, I believe, 2 laps down. He's doing his 33rd lap while the race is just now starting its... Sorry, he's on his 34th lap, so he's about 15 laps down. And, yeah, he did stop, I believe... I don't have that note up, but he is also off sync with these other drivers, so it's possible he has less fuel. Oh, and we appear... Has Matt had another issue? Oh, he might be jumping to the pits to... Oh, and we have another crash on track. It's Jaden Hopp, who is up onto the safer barrier and comes back down onto all 4 wheels. We'll have to take a look and see... Let's back this up here and take a look. This appears to be a violent collision, whether it was just by himself or not. Backing it up, it just appears... Oh, there, it actually happened just moments before that. Okay, so he gets high, exiting turn 3, I believe that is, and then just runs the car right up the wall. And fortunately, those fans there in a daze, looking straight ahead, not feeling the impact of the car circling the track inches from their face. So, Jaden Hopp as we go back live, Jaden Hopp not bringing out the yellow with that crash. Just giving us something to look at for a moment while Henry Bennett pushes his way to the front. So now we've got Henry Bennett in front, Jesper Orman second, Chris Willite third. And now these 2 work on swap drafting. So we watch this battle on track, and again, I just have to say, it's nobody's surprise to see these drivers out in front, in control. Henry Bennett, of course, previous series champion. Currently, I don't know the exact points over in the Indy Road Open, but I know he was up in the top. So he's doing a fantastic job across multiple series, including the Elite Series that I'm racing in. One of the absolute top-end elite racers in the IndyCar at the moment, and driving for Powerslide Motorsports, one of the elite teams. Henry really has it going on when it comes to IndyCars, and anytime any of his competitors see that very familiar British Racing green and red wheels, they know they are in for quite the battle. Henry's trying to make his his racing prowess known here in the IndyCar iRacing series again. And I'm sure he's had a full year to consider taking back that crown from Adam Crane, who stole it from him last year. The audacity of Adam Crane coming out of nowhere and taking that crown from Henry Bennett, I'm sure has played in his mind, and so now he wants the lead, he wants the points, and unfortunately for him, it depends on what happens with the yellow flags going forward, because he may or may not find himself in the ideal position at the end of this race. It just depends on what happens with everyone cycling into and out of the pits, and whether they have to make green flag stops or not. Potentially, that strategy could backfire on Adam Crane and Andreas Eick, find themselves once again, as we take a look at the picture, trying to sit, I guess, still behind. I believe that's Tim Thomas in front. Excuse me, Tim Thomas. So now Adam Crane making his move down the inside. And it appears as though, if we look, that's Andreas Eick drifting back a little bit. There we go, Andreas Eick just drifting back a little bit. Unfortunately, let's see. Now shown 0.6 of a second back. So it's, I say unfortunate, because we'll have to see whether or not that causes him to lose draft. And that could play a role in Andreas's race towards the end of this one. But it appears as though he can hang on within that 0.6 of a second. But we'll just have to wait and see. It's one of those great things about these races. They're nice and long, and we get a chance to play out some great strategy. So let's go ahead and walk through the field while we have a moment. This, at the front end of the field, this is Jesper Orman. A name that I haven't been calling too much in the series, but he's very familiar to all of us. Three Crowns Racing, Jesper Orman here in first place, up 3 positions today. Just behind him, plotting his attack, Henry Bennett, the British driver driving for Powerslide Motorsports, there now taking the lead. Chris Willite in third place, up 8 spots today. Remains to be seen whether he can get truly up into the fight for first. He hasn't quite been there yet, but he's been everywhere else on this track, as he has gained 8 positions. And then that says something about this driver right here, Hugo Olsson, who is currently in 4th place. And Hugo has gained 17 spots today. So did not have a very good qualifying effort, has fought his way forward. I apologize, I missed exactly how he clawed his way all the way forward. Was so focused on the action at the front, but nonetheless, Hugo Olsson, he just said, oh, oops, I kind of slipped in qualifying there. You blinked, and now I'm up in the top 5. So Hugo, one of those drivers who has already shown that should Adam Crane, Jesper Orman, Henry Bennett have any sort of a slip-up, Hugo will be there to take advantage. Vilda Wallen, as I mentioned before, doing an excellent job here, running in 5th place, showing competitiveness, showing championship contention. We'll see how Vilda's day can continue to unfold as we start thinking about approaching halfway here with 150 laps of this race. We're on lap 61, so we go back to Jorge Varela here in 6th place. Would you believe Jorge, so far, our hard charger today in 6. He's gained, oh no, I take it back. As Hugo Olsson, I think, yeah, it just depends on who's passing who, as we see that AJ Musselman has come in to the pits. And so he's falling back. I'm not sure if that was due to an incident or not. Take a look at that and see. No, this looks like it was just a planned stop. So AJ peeling off. And we go back to Our live shot there of Jorge. Jorge up 16 positions. And not only is he in the position for hard charger of the day, as I was saying before, Hugo Olsson is now 17 positions up. So they keep seeming to swap as it depends on who's pitting when. But Kazuhiro Shiba also up 17 positions. That's for 7th place. That just behind Andrew Marquez, who's in 6th. 8 positions gained on the day. Kazuhiro Shiba, as I mentioned, in 7th place. And then we go back to Ty McWhirter, who is in 8th. 4 positions gained. Ty trying to do something different with his car this week. And we'll see whether he can take this IndyCar back up towards the top 5. As I mentioned, a winner of at least one of the races. I just saw look like some definite brake lockup as Jesper Orban pulls in, as does Andrew Marquez for a green flag stop. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. As Adam Crane and Andreas Eick begin to cycle up forward, they are now finding themselves in 7th place. Jesper Orban disappearing from our screen for a moment, a little crossed up in the pit box. And Orman leaves the pits as Chris Willite and Kazuhiro Shiba, Ty McWhirter, all of them find their way into the pits for their stops. Turning over the lead to Henry Bennett. So Henry Bennett now entering the pits. That's what I was checking on, trying to see when his last pit stop was and when he might need to come in. Now, interestingly, I'm seeing that Henry Bennett has an off-track shown. I'm curious as to how he might have acquired that, or when he might have acquired that, perhaps exiting pit road last time. So Bennett sits on pit road, and that gives over the lead to Hugo Olsson. Hugo for power slide, diving into the pits at the last moment. Vilda Wallen, you could see in the picture there, doing the same. Hugo heading for one of his final stops of the day. I guess we still have about 3 more stops to do. It looks like at least 2 more stops to do if we go green flag all the way. Otherwise, some of these drivers might be pitting a few more times. And as mentioned, here is Adam Crane and Andreas Eick. Eick not falling off of the lead, in fact, hanging on to the lead, or hanging on to the draft, excuse me, not the lead, the draft of Adam Crane, and this is why he wanted to do it. Now these 2 drivers can potentially work together. Oh, we have a yellow. I'm seeing Jorge Varela has crashed. And that is a violent one. Did anyone else get taken out in that? I don't know. That was a terrible collision. We hope for all who are involved that their wrists are okay. And also, I am seeing Kazuhiro Shiba perhaps getting caught up in that. If we can just, maybe we can back it up a little bit further here and see exactly what happened. Jorge just getting it wide there. It looks like into turn 2. And clips Kazuhiro Shiba, who nails the outside wall, and that appears to be it for Shiba. Oh my, what a terrible accident there. Again, very violent. See how it looked. Oh, just terrible from on board. And unfortunately, Shiba jumping to the pits also see how that looked from on board Shiba's perspective. Shiba running on the outside at the time. And you see white smoke as Varela had already hit the wall and come back up the wall, or come up the track, leaving Shiba no place to go. So Ike there in the replay going through the footage, or going through the crash scene, so many drivers into the pits, and this is going to be a race off of pit road as we have Hugo Olsson now taking over the virtual, or the lead of the race. Actually, it shows, no, that's not Chris Willite. So Hugo Olsson now shown in the lead, and Andreas Ike wins that battle off of pit road with Adam Crane behind. So these two drivers having to pit, and it kind of spoiling the advantage that they might have been able to get, although they stay on the same field strategy. So it basically just continues to carry over and potentially can launch them, as you saw, right back into the lead. They're just taking advantage of this caution to come in, get new tires, reset the exact same strategy that they had before. So those drivers... So if we look, let me go ahead and bring up, and by the way, weather for this race, apologize, wasn't quite on the ball for a few different parts of this race, but we're still learning here on VirtualRacing.Network, still getting all this stuff figured out and which buttons to push when. But it is 103 degrees Fahrenheit, 39 degrees Celsius, so much cooler of weather than we had here for the official Indy 500. That race was 133 degrees and just much more brutal on the tires for sure than this race is. But nevertheless, that also helps to explain why we're not seeing it quite as processional, and perhaps a little bit more passing ability here, the tires staying a little bit cooler and a little bit less on edge. So Hugo Olsson takes over the lead, and as drivers have now cycled through, take a look at the pit stops so you can see where this, if you look at the tail end of the pit stop strategy there, the right-hand side, as Hugo Olsson is up 20 positions on the day. It's just, that's just ridiculous numbers. But once again, try not to talk too much about, too glowingly about these guys, but it's just amazing. You know, I've raced in a number of these races and you just see the same names at the top every time because they're so good. So Hugo here, lap 66 coming in, and so he'll have, let's see, 66, he'll have one more lap than Henry Bennett, 2 more laps than Jesper Orman, 3 more laps than Chris Willite, who finds himself in 4th, and then Andrew Marquez also, let's see, might have gotten that a little bit mixed up, but 3 or 4 laps, and then Vilda Wallin on the same strategy as Hugo Olsson. So we get ready to go here, back to green flag.
Green flag, green flag.
And we'll get the pit stop strategy off the screen as we go back to green with Hugo Olsson in the lead, pulling out a mini gap, but as we've seen, that does not mean much with this draft here at Indianapolis. Henry Bennett in 2nd place, sizing up Hugo, dives to the inside. The championship contenders doing battle here, these two in this spot. and their nearest competitor and the leader of the championship finds himself down in 12th, Adam Crane. Hugo Olsson making his challenge back to the front as Jesper Orman is now in 3rd place, and go back and see this pass that actually did not. Let's go take a look at this pass here. AJ Musselman getting around David Graybill for 7th. AJ up into 7th. That's where he qualified, but we're now almost halfway through the race and looking at a top 10 in this series. High strength of field. AJ showing that he belongs in the top 10 for sure. Henry Bennett at the front. And the yellow and black machine there of Hugo Olsson. They keep swapping each lap, so it almost doesn't matter who I say is at the front, because by the next lap it's going to be the other one. So we take a look back a little bit further, and we've got Chris Willite just outside of this top 3 group. He's 0.8. He's 0.8 of a second back, and that's not too far to catch the draft and stay up there, so he might claw his way back up there. It's a question as to maybe why he didn't get the type of restart to allow him to stay up there. But either way, Chris Willite up 7 positions today, and I think he's probably very happy with where he is relative to where he started. So I guess when you're a big winner like that of a major recent race, you probably feel like you should be in front, but nothing to be ashamed of being up in 4th after starting 11th. So Andrew Marquez here up 9 positions in 5th place. Again, doing his best to try to fight for that hard charger award. But so far, that's looking like that may go to Hugo Olsson should everything stay good on the track. Look a little bit further back, and I believe it is Adam Crane and Andreas Eick, as well as AJ Musselman just up the road there, and David Graybill splitting these 2 drivers. So now it's not just Eick who gets to run behind Crane. Now Eick is having to deal with Graybill, and Eick going very wide there. Getting the pass done. Actually, Eick getting around Graybill, who now is actually dropping back, maybe had to lift. Still on the outside, now getting passed by Ty McWhorter. So these drivers fighting quite hard to stay up in the top 10. Graybill manages to hang on to Ty McWhorter there. So Diego Pereno here in 13th has lost 5 positions so far. Driver out of Barcelona, Spain. And we'll see what he can do with the rest of his afternoon, because I'm sure when he started in 8th, he wanted something a little better than 13th. Oh, and there's the accident right in front of us. And there's the commentator's curse once again. I can't believe it. What are the chances? This happens every race. We focus on somebody and they have a crash right in front of us. Let's go back and look at that again. See if we can tell what happened exactly. I didn't they were side by side going into the corner, and then it's I don't quite understand how they came together. It looks like just another case of washing up the track in the middle of the corner. So they were trying to execute this pass here. Is that possibly Jaden Hop? No. I don't have a note on who that was, unfortunately, that he crashed with, but was it Jaden Hop? No, Jaden is still on track, just trying to figure out these notes here. But nevertheless, that'll do it for David Grable, who was running so well until we had to focus our camera on him. And then, unfortunately, it looks like David still running. Off pace. Yeah, it appears quite off pace. Not really sure what he's doing at the moment, but and there he's lost control again, sliding around. I've had something similar to this. You know, when the car gets damaged, it will operate maybe okay until you get to a certain mile per hour, and then especially if you go on the banking or whatever, it'll just lose complete control. Perhaps one of the broken parts bottoms on the car or something along those lines. So in the meantime, at the front, we've got numerous drivers, including Adam Crane, Andreas Eich, all of these drivers in the pits, and that is Jesper Orman beating them out of the pits to nobody's surprise. AJ Musselman gets around Adam Crane. I guess that was to be expected, but still it puts these four drivers nose to tail, with Orman, Musselman, Crane, and Ike running in 10th through 13th. So as we take a breather here for a second, I'm so glad that we did not decide to stay completely with the heart-stopping battle between. Every time these drivers swap draft, I mean, it looks. On one hand, you're saying these drivers know exactly what they're doing, but as a driver who's competed in these cars, every time you make a pass, there is always a chance for something to go wrong, or this aero push to act maybe a little different than you're expecting the car to. But that just tells you how confident these drivers are in these cars. And as we take a look and we work our way through the field here. So this is going to put, this actually is a net gain, most likely, for Jesper Orman and Adam Crane, because they get a chance to really top up here. This is going to put them on a extremely different strategy. We're now looking at 14 laps of difference between the front runners right now of Henry Bennett and Hugo Olsson, with the pace lights out on the pace car. And so, as mentioned, we are now on our 80th lap of 150, so we're over halfway. And you are watching VirtualRacing.Network's live, uninterrupted, commercial-free coverage, as it has been all season, of the 2021 IndyCar iRacing Series. This is the second race of the week, and is expected to be the highest strength of field race. These are pretty much all of the championship contenders, with the exception of Severi Seppa, who is not with us in this round, and Matthias Kraus, who's also not with us. but those drivers missing out on valuable points potentially can get some good points they can on Sunday's race. But we get the cream of the crop here on Friday afternoon. I'm so glad to have you joining us here on VirtualRacing.Network as we get set for the green flag once again from the Indianapolis Oval.
Green flag, green flag.
And we have a note that David Grable, I believe we have another crash from David Grable. Let's go back and see that real quick if we can. And it's just David having trouble exiting the pits. That's so common. They don't. And it's one of those things about the iRacing service and the way that it works. There's sometimes a bug. I don't know if it's still a bug, but it's one where you can have damage and come to pit road and get your car fixed, and then you exit the pits and they have not actually fixed the car to the point where it's practically undrivable. So that's a possibility. I'm not sure if that has been fully fixed. I seem to have experienced that bug in a race the other day, so I had to stop short of my pit box and tow the extra 5 feet, and that seemed to fix the problem to the point where I could drive the car. So it's either that problem, or it's just simply you don't know how much damage is still on the car when you head out onto the track, because iRacing does not tell you. They just say whether you have required repairs, optional repairs, or no repairs that are available. And all 3 of those usually mean it doesn't get repaired perfectly. So even if you do rejoin the track, even if the car is drivable, chances are you're going to be a mile an hour or 2 or 5 off the pace, as I experienced myself in my Indy 500 race here this last week. Had a great race going, as did a number of my Last Lap Motorsport teammates. We all had great races going, but one incident or another, or a simple mistake running in 4th or 5th place and touch that wall just a little bit, and it's enough to destroy the car 10 miles an hour. So yeah, that's as I say, these guys make it look so easy. Guys and girls make it look so easy in these cars, swapping drafts and swapping positions at will, as you see Henry Bennett here making his 800th pass of the race, though he's only changed 2 positions. It'd be interesting if we actually could have access to numbers like that. But the point is, they make it look so easy, but the reality is these cars really do require absolute finesse. And so as we take a look back here, we see Chris Willite sitting in 3rd, just a little bit back. That's just about 8/10 back from the battle up front. And of course, weighing on his mind is, yeah, it's 63 laps until the end of this. But where do I want to be? Where do I want to be right now? And where do I want to be in 60 laps? And how do I get there? So Chris running a strong 3rd place. And Chris, of course, please let us know or update your bio if you're running for a team. If not, boy, that is certainly somebody who should be on some teams' magnifying glass, I would think. So we look back here at Vilda Wallin, the Swedish driver, hanging on to 5th place. Seems like I've been saying that. It's like a broken record, but Vilda has staked out 5th and says, I'm not moving. This is my spot, 5th. So perhaps that's a strategy move, and perhaps Vilda has more in the car, is just hanging on, doing some fuel saving, or perhaps that's what the car has in it. Either way, Vilda hanging right on the back of Andrew Marquez. Andrew up 10 positions, Vilda hanging tight in 5th, which is where she started. Hey, I appreciate the comments in the chat room. Don Day, thanks for that note. And also, Kazuhiro Shiba actually stopping by in the chat room. Great to see you. It's, yes, definitely shame on that luck for that incident. As we all know, it's very difficult to get around this place for more than a couple of laps, and that draft can strike at any time. It's hard to hold inside, it's hard to hold outside, and definitely easy to get together with someone else. But Kazuhiro Shiba showing that they will be an absolute force to be reckoned with going forward, for sure. And who knows, maybe someday we'll get Don Day also to join us in one of these races. But at the moment, Tim Thomas here dropping into the pits. That was out of the top 10. Thomas now in, taking routine service. So we look back at the front. Hugo Olsson in command with Henry Bennett right behind. And it does really look like, yes, it's true. Chris Willite now having dropped a second back. This could be the beginning. As we take a look overhead, Chris Willite there, 3rd in the picture. As the top 2, Henry Bennett goes right back around again. But Chris Willite there, the 3rd in the picture, now 0.7 of a second back, so perhaps able to reel it back in a little bit. I was thinking that was getting dangerous for Chris, and now Andrew also about 1 second back. So again, it's potentially getting dangerous for these two drivers to start falling off the back, and that's the one thing you want to be concerned with. You don't want to fall too far off the back of the draft, because the potential that this runs straight through to the checkered flag is, this is a very talented field. There's a very good chance that this could go green for the next 56 laps. So if that's the case, you don't want to lose the lead draft if you're somebody like Chris Willite, because that is valuable seconds that will be lost. Nevertheless, nobody really fully off the draft until we get back to Laura Gearhart here, who's just about a second behind Ty McWhirter. And then we go a little bit further back, and it is Jesper Orman, who actually is the first in 8th place right now. Jesper 0.7 behind Laura on the track, but depending on what happens with our yellow flags and our green flag strategy, potentially it is Jesper Orman with AJ Musselman behind, and Adam Crane, our championship leader, who will find themselves at the front. So that strategy yet to unfold. At the moment, they run 8th, 9th for AJ here. AJ with that fantastic racing name. Anybody familiar with IndyCar or the Indianapolis Motor Speedway knows the name of AJ. It's synonymous with fast driver and a guy who could drive anything, AJ Foyt. And AJ Musselman doing a fantastic job of representing that name, up in 9th place, and again potentially in 2nd overall, just depending on how this strategy were to work out with 53 laps to go. So taking a look a little bit further back from Adam, we've got Diego Moreno here in 11th place and Andreas Eick. So Adam Crane has basically this. Andreas Eick is now split about 0.8 of a second away from Adam Crane. So as I was mentioning before, kind of running back a little bit from the pace that he was running before, right up behind Adam Crane. And so I'm sure Andreas Eick wants to stay in touch, because again, if this goes green flag to the end, that distance there between them could become very, very valuable, especially if Adam Crane can continue to catch people's drafts, as you see him doing right now, staying with AJ Musselman there in 9th. So we look further back from Andreas Eick, and behind we see Richard Crozier enjoying a bit of a battle here with Sergey Perez, and Andrew Marquez now peeling off into the pits. So Andrew, a little bit off strategy. Perhaps it's far too early to be thinking about getting there until the end, but Andrew taking service right now, and that moves this driver, Ty McWhirter, up into 5th. Again, as I mentioned before, Ty, I think, shocked everyone coming out of nowhere and winning, I believe, the Texas round, the first round of the Texas round. Believe, if my memory serves me correctly, wasn't one of the races I was broadcasting, and I think I and a lot of people were shocked to see that name at the top of the results. But Ty now in the pits, and we have Henry Bennett, AJ Musselman, a number of drivers in the pits at the moment. So I'm not sure why AJ is in, because he was part of that back group, and also Justin Petschauer in the pits as well. Now we have Hugo Olsson in the pits, as well as Chris Willite. So their green flag stops coming up. They've got to get them done, and that hands over the lead to somebody we've been talking about. Vilda was hanging back in 5th, and now is going to get credit for leading a lap. I'm trying to delay to see whether or not Vilda will peel off and come into the pits, or will get credit for leading the lap. But either way, Vilda in the lead and pulls into the pits here. That will cycle Jesper Orman around, and I believe Jesper will get credit for leading the lap. So Jesper with Adam Crane right on his tail. These two now racing for 1st and 2nd. So we have Vilda Wallen coming back out onto track. Let's see here. Nope, just now getting ready to exit the pit. So shown in 9th place. such a lengthy pit stop. And now cycling behind Henry Bennett, out of the lead. So as we can see, this three-way battle as Diego Pereno there to the front. Diego, out of nowhere, decides this is the moment he wants to lead. So he assumes the front with authority, making the move on Jesper Orman. Let's take a look at that one more time as he comes from two cars back and takes both cars into turn one. What a move. And we go back to the live picture with Jesper Orman sitting in second. So Diego, who I've had the pleasure of running with, many of us have had the pleasure of running with in various IndyCar races, and I have not had the pleasure of calling his name for this series, but now I do, as Diego making his name known here in the IndyCar iRacing series. Marching to the front, the Spanish driver taking over the lead. Will it be his day in the sun to drink the milk, or will it belong to also IndyCar regular Jesper Orman, who sits behind? Neither of these drivers at the moment a factor in the championship at the very top, but slowly creeping their way up. However, this driver who sits in third, Adam Crane, leads the current championship, is racing on a alternate fuel strategy from contending championship contenders Hugo Olsson and Henry Bennett. And so it's anyone's guess as to how this works out with the yellow flags. But as we get to 44 laps remaining in this race, anything can happen. And right now, if things were to keep going green, we do some quick math. These drivers, came in on lap 79. So I believe it's about 30, a little over 30 laps you can go on a tank, depending on whether you're drafting or not. So these drivers do in here in about 3 laps. And then that would still put them about 10 laps off of being on the right fuel strategy for the end of this. So I don't think this group, I mean, my math is not excellent here, but I'm a little good at doing these strategies. I believe this group is going to need some help from some yellows in order to make their strategy work out. And if we look at the other group, it would start with, if we look back here to Hugo Olsson, who has Chris Willite just behind and Henry Bennett just adrift of that. Hugo Olsson coming in on lap 100, he can make it to lap 130 on a stop, and so they won't need to take a second stop. So they're on the correct fuel strategy. However, again, should we have 1 or 2 cautions before the end of this, it just depends. They probably, the drivers at the front, Diego and Jesper and Adam Crane, probably need that to happen pretty quickly so they can start doing some. And we have another David Graybill crash. This time it looks like it may be terminal. Graybill now coming back into the pits. I believe this is all just continuance from the first lap, or the earlier incident that he had. So meanwhile, Diego and Jesper and Adam continue to fight this one out. I'm sure if Adam continues fuel saving back there, and whether Jesper and Adam and Andreas can save enough fuel that with perhaps one caution they can eke out a final pit stop and be able to go to the end. That is the question. And you can see Diego perhaps feeling the pinch, wanting to... He's been leading for quite a long time, knowing he won't make it to the end, maybe trying to undercut his competition, maybe just trying to get out of that lead. It's unknown, but either way, Diego entering the pits almost undoubtedly cannot make it until the very end. That would be 39 laps, so I don't think they can do that, but we'll see. Stranger things have happened with caution, so we'll just wait this one out and we'll find out. In the meantime, if you are enjoying this race, we just started covering this series because nobody else was going to do any broadcast coverage, and I tell you what, I've just had a blast being able to do this. I've been racing with a lot of these drivers and enjoying the broadcast over on Race Spot of the Indy Road Open Series as we see Justin Petschower here diving to the inside of the leader, Jesper Orman. The lap car here of Justin diving to the inside, that is not, I don't think, what Jesper Orman wants to see as he chases down this potential victory. However, Justin, having a lot of speed there, just managed to go right around. So I suppose Jesper's probably pretty happy about that, as he'll get a chance to do some fuel saving of his own from what is the lead position at the moment. And so that will work out somewhat in his favor if he can run behind a very fast Justin Petschower. So we're seeing that Sergey Jerez has also made his pit stop, and Eric Hunter coming in. So we take a look as we go through the field here. We're seeing now Hugo Olsson has made his way just past Chris Willite, and this is for fourth place. Hugo Olsson, 17 positions gained on the day. It's just astounding what he's managed to do, starting so poorly today, but coming back and trying to earn that hard charger award. I had no idea that drivers would fight so hard for it. So Chris Willite says, no, you won't get number 17 on the day. I'm going to have number 17 on the day. But Henry Bennett there in the picture just behind this battle as Willite and Olsson continue to swap. It's, again, it's a question. Are these guys racing against each other? Are they friends and they're trying to help each other? It's a little difficult to tell, but they do have a gap to gain. I mean, they've got to go 18 seconds. So for the two of them to be doing anything other than trying to help each other get up the road. And there we see, we can see our three leaders have come into the pits. Well, I was daydreaming off about other drivers. Orman, Crane, you can see how tight it is, how quick their pit stops are. Both of them up onto the jacks at the same time. Ike a little bit slower. They fall back through the field, giving over the lead to Hugo Olsson, Chris Willite, Henry Bennett, and Andrew Marquez. That's your top four at the moment. And it's Crane who beats Orman onto the racetrack, and out of pit road with Ike falling back a little bit. Let's see. Ike continuing to fall back. Ike sitting in the pits. What has happened to Andreas Ike? At the moment, falling backwards. I don't know if he had a speeding penalty. If he... I'm not sure. This just terrible news for Andreas Ike as he sits and finally gets going again. It looks like with the amount of time he had to sit there, that was a penalty. He had to serve. Just a terrible, terrible, unfortunate break of event, or unfortunate happen of events there on lap 117 of this race. That's going to put him a lap down now. Andreas Ike falling a lap down into 18th position. But these drivers, Hugo Olsson and Chris Willite, Henry Bennett, all three of these drivers, as well as, if you can believe it, only just under 6 seconds back, it's Ty McWhirter and Andrew Marquez right on his tail with Vilda Wallen. So it looks like possibly these three drivers are catching the front drivers, and whatever they're doing possibly to swap draft might be working. They have to overcome close to a 6-second gap to get back up to Henry Bennett, but we will see whether they can do that. This turning into the battle of who can swap draft the best. Ty McWhirter and Andrew Marquez trying to get it done. Just behind you got Vilda Wallen and Laura Gearhart. And then about 2.7 seconds back, you've got AJ Musselman. He's lost a position from where he started the day, but we still have quite a few pit stops to come. So possibly, and I'm seeing Adam Crane and Diego Pereno down. So Diego and Adam, Diego here is in 10th, and 5.3 seconds back is Adam Crane leading this train of cars. Adam Crane, Jesper Orman, Sergey Harris, all running, Justin Petschauer, all running together here in this group. So we're getting some news from the chat room. Again, Information Central. If you're not on the chat, you're watching from someplace else, come on over. Thomas Christensen giving us some good tips, saying Crane, Jesper, and Ike all on a big fuel save right now. And you bet. We're just trying to go over that fuel strategy. And I think there's a number of drivers that are either praying for a caution or praying it doesn't come to a caution to save their race. So, and Tim Thomas then hits out of, I believe, 9th place, coming into the pits for that final stop, and we await to see when we will see the next of the big drivers coming into the pits. It will likely be Andrew Marquez or Henry Bennett. Andrew Marquez last stopping on lap 98, and Henry Bennett stopping on lap 99. Chris Willite stopping on lap 100, as well as Hugo Olsson. So we expect McWhirter or Andrew Marquez to be the first ones to blink, but it depends, as possibly Hugo Olsson has been out there in the lead a long time and he may need to blink. So they are not quite ready for that green flag stop, but it just depends on whether they want to pit early and take newer tires and be there earlier in case there is a speed advantage. But in the meantime, Hugo content to sit where he is in the lead, up 20 positions. Absolutely amazing stuff from the Swedish driver. Once again, the Powerslide Motorsports driver, Powerslide not taking the pole nor the broadcasted victory in the big Indy 500 that was just run on iRacing, but here showing that they have the speed to be right at the pointy end in the IndyCar iRacing series. And this is some amazing competition here with some of the absolute best international sim racers. As Chris Willite, there it is, up into the front. You knew it was going to happen at some point. The driver who calls his hometown Connersville, Indiana, currently residing in Cincinnati, Ohio, races for the Ohio Club. I don't know if he got credit on that lap for leading a lap, but you just knew that with his charge coming forward and the fact that he just won the 500, the iRacing 500, you just knew he was going to end up there somehow. It was almost inevitable just watching him track through the race here. But Chris Willite, a definite force to be reckoned with. You know, Hugo Olsson and Henry Bennett, Adam Crane, these are amazingly seasoned, accomplished racers. And to be able to come into this series and take the fight at one of the hardest ovals absolutely on the calendar, one of the trickiest ones, and one of the ones, I mean, no other ovals do the teams spend literally months working on their setups than this track. And it means a lot to all of these teams, all of these drivers to win here. So Chris, to be in the position that he is and getting done what he is getting done is nothing short of phenomenal. And there he pulls into the pits with Henry Bennett directly in tow, leaving Hugo Olsson out there. Somehow, Hugo Olsson last stopping on lap 100. So he should be coming in any time now. And this is the pit stop exchange that we were waiting for. Chris Willite, Henry Bennett, Andrew Marquez, Laura Gearhart, all coming into the pits. This is, as we see that Hugo and Ty are still out there on track. And we wait to see. So there go by Adam Crane and Jesper Orman. So if things were to go caution, this entire race would get shaken up very heavily, as these drivers have now made their final stop and rejoined the track. However, just behind, if you look down the straightaway, that leaves Hugo Olsson with a 9-second lead over Vilde Wallin. I'm sure Hugo will be coming in possibly this lap. Ty McWhirter into the pits, Diego Pereno in the pits. And there is Hugo coming into the pits. Justin Petschauer also coming into the pits out of the top 10 position. So Hugo, for his final stop on the day, this is the crucial one, and Vilde Wallin does get a chance to lead officially. The 3CR driver absolutely hanging on and making a stamp on today. It will forever say Vilde Wallin led here at the Indianapolis Oval in the IndyCar iRacing Series top split. Hey, if you're enjoying this race, just think how great it would be if you went to the YouTube channel and subscribed so that you could watch all the races. And by the way, if you click the little thumbs up like icon, which I'm sure you've done 100,000 times by now, but if you did it for this video, then it would recommend this video more to you and I assume to other people. So if you could do both of those things, then it would work out great for all of us, I believe. I mean, then you would be alerted as to when the next race is going to be and other races that you might find interesting. I suppose I can tell you right here on the air while we have a moment, and we see Vilda Wallen still circling, possibly going to come into the pits this lap. Yes, indeed. And that will give over the lead to Adam Crane momentarily. We'll watch and see how Vilda does into the pit box. For those of you who are aware, I just did the broadcast here on VirtualRacing.Network for the U.S. IndyCar League. It's a great league that's been around for 10 seasons, now going into its 11th season, and we're very excited to announce that the VirtualRacing.Network will begin coverage of Season 11 as Adam Crane is involved in this magnificent battle here for first place on track. This is it, folks. So if you are interested in more coverage of IndyCars and racing, definitely subscribe to VirtualRacing.Network and you will see more U.S. IndyCar League. It gets going here in just a couple of weeks on Sunday mornings. So if that's a time slot you want to race in, make sure to contact Jason Lowe through iRacing and you can be on our broadcast. So we take a look at this battle at the front. This is it, folks. Adam Crane with Ike directly in front, as well as Richard Crozier just up the road. Those two are not for position. Crane here in the blue, white, and red machine is in the lead, and it's Chris Willite in second place. Jesper Orman here in third in the gold and black machine. And Henry Bennett in fourth place. Right there in the picture, it's Hugo Olsson in fifth. This battle, 5 cars deep for first position as Hugo Olsson takes his look down the inside of Henry Bennett. We've got 17 laps to go. Drivers are trying to figure out how they want to position themselves for the end of this. And that will cycle Vilda Wallen here back out into 8th. So the Vilda Wallen fans out there now seeing Vilda under attack from Andrew Marquez. But I don't think we've seen the end of that battle. Vilda will likely gain another couple of positions as other drivers do have to pit. Meanwhile, Adam Crane now a half a second advantage over Chris Willite in the black and purple machine. Jesper Orman sits just behind in third place. Taking a look. Not going to make a move into turn 1. These drivers relatively, it's seeming like they're okay with hanging nose to tail. I doubt fuel is even a concern at this point. Let's see. Well, I take that back. The driver who's in the proverbial driver's seat is Chris Willite. He did pit on lap 127, so he is one of the most frequent. Hugo Olsson actually pitted on lap 129, so he's the most recent to pit and be in this battle. So theoretically, Olsson with the tires that are the freshest of this group. And with Tim Tomez entering the pits, that actually moved Andreas Ike up a spot. But here, Yeah, and I'm not sure. Looking at it now, Jesper Orman stopped on 112. I don't think, I mean, he would be under some really heavy fuel saving to be able to make it. That would be like 38 laps to make it to the end, and I just don't know that you could possibly stretch it that far. It's possible, I suppose, but oh, we see some smoke there. We're seeing a driver pull off that looked like, can't quite tell who that is. They're not dropping out of the order, so it must have been one of the lap cars. So here's a name that we haven't been talking about much, but running in 6th place at the moment of 20 positions, so the hard charger, but he'll have to make a pit stop. Stop last on lap 111, but Justin Kleiber here showing up in the top 10 and running strong. Sergey Harris here in 7th place, also showing, again, at Indy of all places to show up in the top 10 with so few laps to go. It's really amazing. But look at this battle at the front. This is incredible. This is the top 3 of the race, and 2 of your top 3 in the points, with Chris Willite right there in the points, and Willite gets high in the corner, almost gets up into Hugo Olsson. And Bennett now senses the opportunity to move around Willite. Perhaps he's sensing that perhaps Chris having an issue, he wants to get around. He doesn't want to be behind somebody having a mechanical issue with their car at the moment. As you can see, Willite losing a little bit of ground to the leaders up in front, but it's Hugo Olsson moving up to the front. And I'm just going to say, I don't think this group here, led by Andreas Eick, who's now a lap down, but Adam Crane there with Olsson, I don't think this is swap drafting for gentlemen's sake. I think both of these drivers, as they get very dangerously close to Andreas Eick, I think these drivers are fighting it out for first. This is for the lead of the championship. This is for the lead of the Indianapolis 150. Round 5 of the 2021 IndyCar iRacing Series. This is a prestigious race on the calendar. This is the only time that we're at this oval this season. And this is the big points race. So both of these drivers right here, all these drivers, you can just see it, are right on it. They are where they want to be, less than 10 laps to go. Who will have to blink? Will it come down to a fuel stop as Justin Kleber and Sergey Harris also come into the pits? It looks like Harris getting around Kleber on entrance to the pits, but it's Olsson who's now broken away from Crane. Crane dropping back. I'm not sure if Crane has decided to go to extra fuel saving strategy, but he's dropped back behind Andreas Eick. Now looks to the inside of Eick. Eick getting out of the way. A lap down. Chris Willite there in third is going to have to deal with the lap car. And this 3-car train that you see, Willite, Bennett, and Jesper Orman here, all for position. Though the Wallen has passed Andrew Marquez for 6th place. They run nose to tail there, as you can see, but this is 9 seconds adrift. Ty McWhirter sits in 8th, AJ Musselman in 9th, and Laura Gearhart in 10th. But this battle right here, as Hugo Olsson gets around Hugo Olsson leads Adam Crane with just 7 laps to go. Adam dropping back now, a second and a half back. He must be under significant fuel savings. He's in 2nd place, Is he going to run out of fuel, folks? This is the question right now. As we can see, Vilda Wallen passing Andrew Marquez there again for 6th. That's a tight battle back there with them swapping positions. But this is all about fuel saving here with Adam Crane. And we just don't know. Is Adam lifting at the end of the straight? It's not quite lifting yet. Still staying in the throttle, so not quite desperate enough. But 6 laps to go, and we're just seeing one heck of a battle going on a little bit further back. There's Adam Crane lifting a little bit, and this battle with with Vilda Wallen and Andrew Marquez, an insane battle these two have been having, swapping back and forth. I have no idea if they are working together, but sometimes it's just, even if you have speed on somebody, sometimes it's just easier to pass. Sometimes it's just easier to keep swap drafting than it is, you don't even think about it, just because with that drafting, you got to go somewhere with it. It's either take your foot completely out, and if you don't need to save fuel, what's the point? So we got a driver running on the low side there, getting out of the way. It's Hugo Olsson. Here we have 4 laps to go. Hugo Olsson not getting out of the way. Hugo Olsson in the front for Powerslide Motorsport Team Powerslide Motorsports and Team Sweden, I guess. But the Swedish driver there leading Canadian Adam Crane of Ottawa for Satellite Racing. Henry Bennett in 3rd. Just surrounded by other drivers. Andreas Eichdracht directly in front of him, and Jesper Orman. This is for 3rd and 4th place, the final seat on the podium. And we are watching to see what happens with frontrunners Hugo Olsson and Adam Crane. Henry Bennett and Jesper Orman. Actually, Henry Bennett should be fine until the end. It's Adam Crane and Jesper Orman who will likely have to pull into the pits if they pull in at all. Remains to be seen. We're seeing so much action here on the track. As we saw somebody get up into the wall there, AJ Musselman comes into the pits, having to take fuel out of 10th place. That leaves Hugo Olsson still in the lead as we have 2 laps remaining. Hugo with a 3.5 second lead. It looks like it's his race to win. And Adam Crane in 2nd. But is Adam going to be able to hold on to 2nd? It would be right on the edge. As we take a look, it's the final lap for Hugo Olsson. And Adam Crane still holding on track with Jesper Orman now just behind 0.3 of a second, closing ever so slightly. It's Henry Bennett who might make a move. It's Hugo Olsson at the front who goes over the finish line first, and it's Adam Crane with a last-second move there from Jesper Orman, and I'm not sure, it may have been Jesper Orman who took 2nd and not Adam Crane. At least that's what it is showing me here in the notes. So, folks, what an amazing finish as Adam Crane ends up, I believe, 3rd. That's what our timing shows. we'll have to take a look at how that ended at the line, but Henry Bennett 4th, Chris Willite 5th, Vilda Wallen 6th, and Hugo Olsson in 1st place. Hugo starting 21st, gains 20 positions en route to victory here in Indianapolis. What an amazing drive. Hugo Olsson in championship form. In dominant fashion, lays his stake to the championship once again. And leaving Adam Crane, last year's champion, and the driver leading the points coming into this race, as well as Henry Bennett, who's just won so many races and won championships, including this series championship 2 years ago. Hugo Olsson had all the answers today, and Adam Crane, as well as Henry Bennett, are going to have to scratch their heads after this one and figure out how yet again Hugo Olsson got the better of them and walks away with the points. This, an amazing drive from Hugo Olsson, and we'll take a look at the final results here. What a day. As we can see, Hugo Olsson, the winner over Jesper Orman. It was so tight after that. In fact, Jesper Orman there with that final pass, and we'll take a look at that in one moment. But that was one heck of a pass coming to the line for Jesper Orman. He takes second place. Adam Crane, the final place on the podium, and Adam again having to look at strategy and figure out how he went from second or first in this race to third and loses points overall to Olsson. This is turning into quite a battle, and Henry Bennett there in 4th. It's just amazing, folks. What amazing competition going on here. So Henry Bennett in 4th. Of course, not all of these team names are correct. Henry Bennett racing for Power Slide, I believe. And then we also have Chris Willite in 5th. Vilda Wallen in 6th. Well, Vilda only lost one position on the day, but that's what we call championship form right there. To stay up there in the top 10, make your mark known, and possibly will be there in the next race to challenge the leaders. Andrew Marquez in 7th, Ty McWhirter in 8th, Laura Gerhardt in 9th, Diego Pereno there in 10th, Justin Kleiber there in 11th, Sergey Harris in 12th, Justin Petschauer 13th, AJ Musselman in 14th, Richard Crozier in 15th, Brendan Burkhoff in 16th, and Andreas Eick once again having a fantastic race early on and then struggling to have that consistency pay off at the end. I still don't know exactly what happened because it didn't pop up as a note on the screen, but it is most likely, definitely had a penalty, that is for sure, but I'm not sure if also possibly some contact. But at the end, it was Andreas who was holding with Crane, so the team talent driver will go back and figure that one out and what went wrong on pit entry. Meanwhile, Eric Hunter comes home in 18th, Tim Tomez in 19th, David Grable in 20th, Jaden Hopp in 21st, Jorge Barella there in 22nd, Kazuhiro Shiba in 23rd, Matt Hollaba in 24th. Kind of surprised didn't get a chance to mention the driver much more, Matt Hollaba. He was a factor in the Indy 500, and I'm sure we will be seeing much more of him in these top split races here in the IndyCar iRacing series. Alain Moreira, apologize for butchering your name earlier, please let me know, but Brazilian driver having an issue with Hollaba in the corner. Robert Glennox also having an issue early on, and Shane Burke. Burke, extremely fast driver, still finding his way on these ovals and in the IndyCars. Now, what I do want to see is let's take a look at the checkered flag as we hide the overall results here. And if I can find... Just apologize for a minute. We're going to take a look at that final lap and see. It actually never gave me a note, so that's how late that pass came from Jesper Orman. But let's go ahead and take a look at that last lap for Jesper Orman. And we'll take a look on board with Jesper. As he had to slow there a little bit. And there you see Adam Crane directly in front. Look at this toe that Jesper gets. Coming from so far back. There was turn 3. Here comes turn 4. Setting up on the outside. Jesper coming to the start-finish stripe. Has the speed, makes the draft, pulls to the inside. Nothing Adam could do. He didn't even try to attempt to defend it. And that was it. I don't know if his defense would have meant anything, but Adam losing a couple of valuable points to Hugo Olsson there by not going defensive or not having a way to defend that pass. And Jesper, what an amazing pass, showing his amazing execution of the draft, being able to get around there at the very end. So Hugo Olsson was absolutely in charge the whole race. He just seemed to have all the right answers all day today, making the move around Adam Crane right here for position on lap 140. This was the pass. Right here. You'll see it. This was the pass for the win, folks. Hugo Olsson. Somewhere in here. It says it was this lap. You can see how tight this racing was. It's hard to believe this was for the lead of the race. But this was Hugo Olsson holding tight and eventually getting by getting by Adam Crane, who I believe had to drop back. Yeah, I'm getting a note right now. I appreciate the notes in the channel of thanks. And there's the pass on the outside of Adam Crane. And it does say that Adam Crane ran out of fuel. That's the note we're getting in the chat room. I appreciate that. Pulver up. I appreciate that note. It's possible. It certainly looked like he had slowed. I guess we could go back to that footage and watch from Adams on board. But either way, whether he ran out or not, we knew it was going to be close. And Jesper Orman there taking the position at the end. So once again, it was a fantastic race with Jesper Orman and in second place and Adam Crane in third. Henry Bennett had poked his nose up there for so long, swap drafting for the lead again and again with Hugo Olsson. And not afraid to swap draft with anybody on the track. Chris Wilhite, Adam Crane, everybody getting their share of passing done. But it was, of course, Hugo Olsson who managed to take the checkered flag. He was absolutely in charge from the very get-go on his own strategy, but we couldn't see how this was going to play out, and it turned out to be a fuel strategy race. Jesper not able to match Hugo's overall pace, and Hugo actually pulling away from Adam Crane at the end as Adam running out of fuel. So congratulations to to Hugo Olsson, who is your outright victor here. And I'm sure he is drinking the milk wherever he is right now, and perhaps more, but I don't know. Either way, Hugo Olsson for Powerslide Motorsports bringing home one of the top Indy races on the service. Hugo is an absolute talent to behold in this series and elsewhere, and that brings us to a close here at the Indianapolis Oval. It's been my pleasure to bring you this race here for the IndyCar iRacing series. This was round 5, and so let's go ahead and as we let Hugo finish out there in that replay, we'll just go ahead and show you the remaining, as we get this other junk off the screen. Let's take a look at our final parts of the schedule here. And so this was, and you could ignore the date at the beginning, that's the start of the week. We're actually on the Friday of that week, so if you're marking this on your calendar, I'll have a better graphic next time that'll spell that out for you. But in the meantime, you can actually go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our next race, which will be at the Detroit Grand Prix at Belle Isle. That's a super bumpy circuit, exactly the opposite of this track, a wide open, long oval, 2.5 miles. This Detroit is the flip opposite, so make sure to tune in for that. Promises to be lots of carnage. And then Road America, followed by Mid-Ohio, and then we go to the back half of the schedule, and we have the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Sonoma Raceway. We come back to the Indy Road Circuit as the real IndyCar series does, and then we get our next oval, which will be the Gateway Worldwide Technology Raceway. Then we go to Road Atlanta, which just got a brand new texture upgrade, so that should be fun. And these cars are just fantastic to drive at Road Atlanta. Then our final 2 races, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, very narrow for a road course, difficult to pass. So really, I would say that given that Road Atlanta and then WeatherTech and Long Beach are the final 3 tracks, you really want to be in the top of the championship by the time we get to the last 3 races, because it's not a wide open oval where you can gain 20 positions on a track, pretty much. So that pretty much does it for us here on Virtual Racing Network. I appreciate you joining us from around the world. This has been Trevor Greenfield. You've been watching live uninterrupted coverage of the 2021 IndyCar iRacing series here on VirtualRacing.Network. We will see you next time. Remember to like and subscribe. Bye-bye.